I know why you're here. You want to learn. You want to grow. So we want to bring on our good friend Blake Reed Evans. Blake is a real master of high contrast hair, but he's also very masterful with social media. So he does lots of social media content. In fact, if you missed Wellness Wednesday, I believe it was like 2 or 3 months ago, we had him on and just delivered so much great content on how to be more balanced with your social. But he's also a stylist, hair color specialist, and a salon owner at Sheer Art Salons in Tampa, Florida. And he loves being passionate and where creativity meets precision and skill. And that's a lot of what you're going to see today through his hair color techniques. And Blake's going to push you a little bit out of the box today, I think. So please welcome in the chat, say hello, welcome Blake Reed Evans. What's up, Blake?
What's up, everybody? And hi, Andrew. How's everybody doing? Go ahead and type into the chats where you guys are coming from. I see that we have some lovely people from all over the world already, but I would love to know where you guys are from. I'm in Tampa, Florida. Andrew, where are you at?
I am way up in the opposite corner of the country. I'm in Southern Oregon. So yeah, we're at opposite ends. And, I can't believe we can actually talk like this because it's such a big distance.
I know. I love it. God bless the internet.
Blake, I'm going to get off this screen and let you get started, my friend. I know you have a lot of content, but you know me, I'll be back in to harass you once in a while.
That sounds good. You have my permission. Awesome. Okay, so how many of you guys have ever seen something, a trend, whether it's hair or fashion, and the first time you saw that trend, you were like, that is horrible. And then the second time you saw it, or maybe 6 months down the line, you saw it and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. Now, what we want you to do is go ahead and type that into the chats. Name something that you hated at first sight and then liked 6 months later, because I know, I'll give the example. The first time I saw ombre, it was like right when I was in hair school, and I was like, who wants roots? Why would someone want black hair color and then it all super, super light on the ends? And then, like, I don't know, 2 months went by, and then I saw a softer version of it, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I see Anne said ombre, right? It's like the first time we saw it, it was not the best. Yeah, Amanda is also with us, right? So think about where we are now with trend, and it's ombre turned into balayage turned into baby lights, and now we're starting to make a shift. So everyone say hi to Ellie. So this is a perfect example of where we're starting to head in trend. Now, my friends, everything old is new again. So we have some really bold highlights that are coming from the top, but this isn't your 2002 highlight. If you notice, it's still very melted and soft on the ends. So what we're going to go ahead and pull up next is a inspiration board of where we're starting to see some of this hair color start to happen in terms of trend. So if you take a look at this, you can see how some major key players in fashion and the entertainment industry are starting to wear this. So if you're all wondering, like, where did this come from? Remember, everything old becomes new again. We've been balayaging and teasy lighting and blending out things so much that that it's time for a change. So we all went into lockdown, and a lot of people started doing their own hair color. So what we're noticing is, if you see the girl with the pink hair in the center, her name is Charli D'Amelio. She is the most followed person on TikTok. She is literally 17 years old, and she's the most followed person on TikTok. She's the key person who's influencing what's happening within hair color. But then you see some more familiar faces. Maybe you recognize Beyonce, Bella Hadid, J-Lo. We have another huge pop star, Dua Lipa, who is wearing high contrast hair color. She's a really good person to use as an example, actually, to your guest of like what your hair color can look like during the transition, because she literally went from black hair color all the way up to this blonde, and she had some blonde hair color along the way. So we just want to share with you some of those inspiration images, because that's exactly what we're seeing. So if celebrities are wearing it, then our guests are going to wear it. So it's really important for us to make sure that we recognize that. So let's go ahead and jump into some hair. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our comb, and we're going to be using the spine of the comb. So the spine is going to be your best friend, because what we're going to do is we're going to take the spine of the comb and we're going to place that right on the hairline of our guest. Once we take it off on the hairline, right where that comb lifts off is the first point in our money piece territory. It's money piece territory. So we're going to take the spine of the comb, place it on the hairline wherever it lifts up. That is going to be money piece territory, or you might know it as one of the high points of the head. Then what we're going to do is see the corner of the eye, and we're going to take that little bone, and all of you at home, go ahead and push on that bone that's right next to your eye, and then make an index finger and go up. And that's exactly the area that we're going to be working with. That's going to be our other point that we're going to draw to. So we're going to draw a line from that corner of the eye on the hairline up to that high point that we found. And we are going to take a clip and put it out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and switch to the other side, and we're going to mimic it. So again, corner of the eye, we're going to take it, rock it back a little bit. So that point is right there. And now this might remind you of like creating a fringe section or something like that. And that's exactly how we're going to find our money piece territory. Oh, I love Teresa's talking about the trend, and it's saying, I love the way about mom jeans right now. It's like, it just reached, she's yet to reach the love it stage. It's so funny because I said the same thing. I saw it a couple of years ago and I was like, these cannot be coming back. Like, skinny jeans are everything. Mind you, I'm a millennial, so I love skinny jeans. And then I see mom jeans and I'm like, okay, I don't know. And then I went to Urban Outfitters and picked some up probably about 2 years ago. And then I was like scared to wear it. And then all of a sudden, I know, and and then now I wear my wide leg jeans very proudly, cuff them at the bottom. And it's just crazy how all that stuff comes back. So to recap, now we've created a fringe section that's going to become the money piece territory. So let's have a chat, because we have guests that don't always want the boldest contrast. As you can see in this mannequin, we have a lot of bold contrast happening. That's okay. And what we want you guys to do is type into the chat, that's okay, because we have something for you for every different flavor. We remember that high point that we talked about that's so crucial in this. When we are going to go in and do money pieces, if your guest is the loud and bold and ready to go for it type of personality, your money piece highlighting is going to come all the way up to that high piece. If you have guests that are like, I kind of want to go a little bit bolder, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to dip my toe in, I'm obsessed with my balayage, then what you're going to go and do is you're going to go 3/4 of an inch forward. So that means that your money piece that you're going to be doing is only going to be within this first 1.5 inches of the hairline. And if you have people that are kind of like me, that are like somewhere in between, you're going to go somewhere in between, and you're only going to go from the high point, you're going to go 1/4 inch forward. So these are the things that we really want to make sure that we recognize is bold at the high point, 1/4 inch forward, someone who's like really ready to be a little edgy, but not too edgy. And then we're going to go another 1/2 inch forward if they're just wanting to give it a shot. So high point, 1/4 inch, 3/4 of an inch. So now let's go ahead and get into how we're going to highlight this mannequin. So we're going to go ahead and bring this in and down, straighten her out a little bit. And we are going to be starting off with this front hairline. So everyone, I don't care how awkward it is, I want you to go ahead and make some spirit fingers into the cameras, even just pretend like there's a camera there. There we go. We got Andrew going along. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this hair and we're going to elevate it off of the head form vertically straight up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start back brushing with our hands. So what is happening now is some hair is starting to fall down. This is going to be the very, very first section of hair that we are going to throw into a foil. So we're going to go ahead and take this. we are going to, so what this is going to help create is a lot of variation. So you can see that we have some dark pieces, or some thicker pieces, some thinner pieces. This is going to help create some variation on the hairline so that when this grows out, it's not as harsh. Because although high contrast hair color is coming back, that means that the roots are going to also come back a lot faster. What we need to do is meet the average consumer halfway. So you want to meet your consumers halfway, or your guests or your clients or whoever. You want to meet them halfway whenever you're doing these trends. So that first piece is going to remind you of a baby light. That baby light is totally going to grow out softer. And I see Candace also asked a really great question, and it's like, how do you handle hairlines with a lot of baby hair? So Candace, what I usually do is I will do the hairline last, because people with a lot of baby hairs, I find that hair breaks really, really easy. So we want to make sure and go through and do that last. If they have that short, little, tiny baby hair, I'll take a like a mascara type wand color brush, and I'll just paint lightener on that hair without putting into a foil. So it's not as intense, and it's also a little bit softer of a grow out. So then now what we're going to do now is we're going to come through and we're going to create a slice that's going to be right on top of this little spirit finger type technique. Then we're going to come through and we're going to create a weave. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this on the side is because I want you to pay attention to how this splits into two. You're going to take this, you're going to split it into two. You're going to take that top section and you're just going to get it out of the way just for the time being. And you're going to grab another foil. And in order to get this locked in, you're going to take this hair, you're going to wrap it backwards, and then you're going to take it and wrap it around the foil. So what that does is it helps lock the foil in to the root area so that you can get the coverage that you're looking for. Now, we're going to come through and we're going to place our lightener. We're going to come in and we're going to place it on a diagonal. So go ahead and leave the word diagonal into the chat so that you will definitely remember this. So we're going to come in and we're going to place our first brush of color on a diagonal. So Blake, why a diagonal? Because this is going to be easier to blend out. Because what I'm going to switch now to is a narrow, long brush. So this first brush I was working with is a wide, long brush. So now we're going to be switching to a long, narrow brush so that we can come in and start doing the detailing and creating this diffusion up to the scalp. So why did I do a diagonal? So that it'll help blend out easier for you. So now that we have that in place, we're going to switch back to the wide, long brush. So we're going to come in and create saturation on the ends of the hair. So we have these two different brushes that we are working with, which is the saturator and the detailer. The saturator and the detailer. So meet the saturator, and here is the detailer. So we have these two different brushes that we're working with. It reminds me of just cutting hair, right? Like we have multiple pairs of shears to do different techniques. Well, we have multiple types of color brushes that can also do different techniques. So we're going to come through. We're just stacking the foils on top of them because it's easier to make sure that you're not folding the hair up too much so that you're not creating any creases or lines in the hair. So you got all of that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take that piece that you already had, and once again, we are going to place a foil in. So you're like, Blake, what are you doing? Why are you doing so many foils stacked on top of each other? Now, I need to know from all of you, have you ever gone in and did a thick highlight on somebody and you took a little too thick of a section and all of a sudden it was like perfectly lifted in some areas and then not so perfectly lifted in other areas? because that is, I've totally been in that situation where it's like nice and lifted in some areas and not so lifted in other areas. So now we're going to come through again with our saturator so that we can make sure that we get full saturation on the ends of the hair. So again, stacking the foils on top of each other so that we get some control. So if you notice, what we have is we have tiny little slices of hair that are building up to some higher contrast hair color, because I don't know about you, but have you ever been personally victimized by hair not lifting as evenly as you wanted? So that's exactly what the thin slices are for. So Aisha says that every time I do this. I think it's awesome because I think it's one of those things. It's like, yes, this is a trendy thing, but principles always matter. Principles always matter. So it's so important to make sure that we get back to that. And always remember, thin slices means high lift. So I love that.
Hey, Blake, Tammy is wondering, as far as when you're foiling like this, on a real human, you know, as far as placing the foils on the face, what tips do you have for that?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Tammy, for that question. So we are in the digital age of people wanting to lean down on their phone. So this is the perfect opportunity to say, hey, Ellie, hey, Lydia, time to get onto your phone so that they can look down. You know, actually, Sam taught me this. Clients can be uncomfortable for a couple of minutes, but I can't be uncomfortable for my entire career. So it's really important to set your guest up and just say like, hey, you're going to be leaning down for a second. You're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I'll roll the foils back and I'll show you that in a second. So it's a great question. Thank you. So now what we're going to be working with is a slice. So this slice is going to help us make sure that we get the boldness we are looking for. So again, we're going to elevate that section up, place our comb down where we want it to be, and then we're going to help lock it in. Now, while there's high tension on the hair, there's nothing wrong with getting that foil up exactly where you want it to be. Again, foils are straight lines and heads are rounded, hopefully. So we want to make sure that we are taking the time to help make sure that we get this secured for ourselves so that now when we go in to do our technique, we'll be good to go. So again, we're going to come in with our saturator. Now I want you to pay attention really closely to this. So we have high tension on the ends of the hair, like balayage level type tension. Then we're going to come in while we still have the tension on the hair. We're going to take this brush at a 45-degree angle, and we're going to start creeping up the lightener towards the edge of the foil. If there's anything that needs to be blended out, it's totally okay to back brush. So now this was the detailer. So if you notice, while we had tension, we came in at a 45-degree angle. We're now bringing the lightness up to the root area, but we've still left some depth behind. Why? Well, my friends, you just helped create a built-in shadow root. So now what we're going to come through and do is saturate and saturate and saturate. So the big things that I've learned from this type of technique is to pay attention to how we're manipulating our hands whenever we are doing it. So everyone go ahead and shake out your dominant hand. Go ahead and tap your wrist and then spin that in a circle and say detailer. So that is going to be the motion that you use whenever you are detailing. So let me go ahead and mock it onto this. So you're going to come in and you're going to be detailing. So do you see how that motion is coming from our wrist? Now go ahead and tap your shoulder or go ahead and tap your elbow and spin that in a circle. Hopefully you don't smack somebody sitting next to you. And that is going to be your saturator. So you're going to come in and you're going to do longer saturation. So Why do we do this? The reason why is because we want to make sure that we're going in and creating high saturation. I don't know about you, but I've spent forever trying to saturate hair. And the thing is when we're doing longer motions like that, because we're using something that's stronger than our wrist, like our elbow or our shoulder, you're going to get stronger pressure of saturation whenever you're doing these motions. When we come in with our wrist, what ends up happening is not as strong of saturation. The other thing too is you're going to be doing longer motions when you are saturating, so you get really nice coverage like this versus, I don't know if you guys have ever been this person in the salon. I know that I was, but would foil like this. Oh my gosh, I just got like lightner on my laptop. So you can see how the lift wouldn't be quite as consistent because you have different pockets of more saturation and then less saturation. So it's really important to make sure that we are doing longer motions to help get the saturation that we're looking for. I went through and made a mess with this.
I like it. Get messy with it. Hey,
Yeah.
so Sonia was asking kind of a minimum and maximum for how much we should do for money pieces. So, like, yeah, that's a good question. How much is, because sometimes I think about it from a haircutting standpoint. If we're going to cut a fringe, sometimes if you don't cut enough, it's kind of like, well, what was the purpose? But then there's also the point that it's way too much. So talk to us about placement.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's such a great question, Sonia. Thank you. So remember back to what we were talking about before. So if someone wanted a softer money piece, this is all that we would do. Because what we need to realize is where this is going to split off, whether they have a center part or a side part or whatever part that they so choose, this is going to fall soft because you still have hair that is darker that's going to fall on top of it. That's going to help make it not quite as stripy. Now, if someone wanted it bolder, I would add another 2 rows of foils. And then if they wanted the boldest, like e-girl level style, then I'm going to take it all the way up to that high point of the head that we found at the beginning of this. If you are wondering what that was, we're going to be posting the recording of this and you'll be able to find it again. Remember, spine of your comb. So now that we've gotten those few rows going in, I saw a really great question that was in referencing like, how do you get the foils locked in to around head shape? Because I have issues with that. I've totally been in that situation before. So this is something I learned in a color class called Color No Why, but you want to make sure that your sections are no wider than a peace sign. Now, I know some people have peace signs that are like crazy wide, but we're just talking about like just relaxed peace signs. Yeah, see, Andrew has one of those wild ones that goes crazy wide. We have just a relaxed peace sign. Wherever you are on the head, your foil section should be no wider than the peace sign. So that means in this area that we're working with, in this head, we need to split this in 2 because this is starting to get a little wide. So I would come in and place a foil right through here. So let's go ahead and do that. And then go ahead and do it on the other side as well. Why? Because it is a rounded shape, you need to take smaller sections in order to get something that's so straight like a foil to lock into the hair. Yes, it takes more time, but whenever you're looking to create foils that come out of the scalp, that's what I've learned is a necessary step to do. So now we're going to come in and blur at the root again with our detailer, and then saturate on the ends of the hair. So the product I'm working with, Andrew, if you want to go ahead and pull up the head form too, I want you guys to all take a screenshot of this, a picture of this, whatever it is that you want to do. And basically you can see that we have a micro stitch that can go into a regular stitch that goes into a slice, and then the motion will repeat itself depending on the personality of your clients. The products that we're using is Redken Flash Lift Bonder Inside and 30 Volume Pro Oxide Cream Developer. My personal favorite is to work with this in a 1:2 ratio. because I find that it's spreadable whenever you're doing blending techniques like this. If you're liking the balayage, something similar to this, then I would do it to like 1 to 1.5. So that's a little bit thicker so that it will balayage nicely for you. So that's the head form for you. And then we can wrap up this last foil here. And again, last time, we're going to come in at a diagonal. This is going to be easier to blend out for us. And then we're going to come in with a brush at a 45-degree angle, saturate up to the scalp, and then switch brushes again. So when I'm highlighting, I really love using the Samvia tail comb. And the reason why I like it is because now that we're doing thicker highlighting, it is going to help get us thicker sections. Also, this won't stab your client in the head as aggressively as like a metal one can. So I'm a really huge fan of this so that as you're working on the head form, you don't end up stabbing them. And if you do, it's not going to be quite as aggressive as as a metal one. I hope I'm not the only one that's done that. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm the only one that's ever.
It's not nice. Hey, whoops, wrong one. Tammy is asking, would you do this on bangs that are cut short? I think this is actually a great question because, yeah, at what point, I'm sure if we're wearing it here, that's probably not the best idea. But at what point is it too short to wear something like this?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I have some curtain bangs cut on this mannequin. So I would say anything that is above eye level, you might want to shift your process or your inspiration for this placement. They can have money pieces, but we might need to shift the placement vertically throughout the head form so that they get dark and light next to each other. If they want to go full, a little bit edgier, then you can totally block color out the fringe area. But you can even see that this has relatively short pieces within this mannequin, and it has this really nice blend to it. So this is the same technique. So you can see where it has some dark with light mixed into it, so that's where the built-in shadow root comes into play. So Tammy, that's a really great question. Thank you so much. So now we are going to talk about some vivid blurring. Now, what I really love about the technique that we are going to share with you is how this is going to be able to be blended for vivid hair colors. It's going to be able to be blended for Shades EQ toners or whatever your toning option might be. But it's going to help create a lot of dimension. So it's like a full cooking show in here. We have this lovely mannequin with a nice palette, and we lightened out the front there for you so you can see some more live hair color happening. So we're going to go ahead and bring that down. So through here, all this was Shades EQ 06T melting into 08T all the way through the ends. And then we did one more process where we took Nightfall from Pulp Riot and applied that towards the ends of the hair. And then because I knew that we were going to have this class and I wanted to show some vivids, we went through and did a light wash with Redken Flash Lift and 10 volume. And you can see that it removed almost everything. The very tips of it are still a little blue, but that'll actually help lend itself to the look. So we're going to go ahead and gather the hair that we don't want to color. So what's cool about this technique we're about to share with you is the fact that you can use this, like I said, for vivid colors. You can also use it for Shades EQ. The idea here is to help create blend within the way that you're toning the hair. So the biggest thing I've learned with vivid hair colors is thinner sections means more saturation. More saturation means less hollowness in your color. So we're going to get that out of the way. And we're going to go ahead and be working with two different formulas. We're going to be working with Absinthe from Pulp Riot, and then we're going to be working with Absinthe and Clear. So what we are going to do first is we are going to get a foil onto the head so that it is going to help protect the hair. Then we have two different formulas. We have a dark formula and a light formula. We're going to start off with the light formula. So we're going to come through and we are going to saturate the ends first. That's okay, we'll let that one go. And the big things that I've learned too is to make sure that we go through and we take the time to saturate. Now, where I want to see the dark to come into play is a little bit further down. But what I'm doing in this particular technique is taking the lightness higher. So by taking the lightness higher, I've learned that it's going to be easier for me to be able to blend this out. So we're going to come in, get this foil down for a second, wipe our hands clean. Then we are going to come in with our darker formula. So we're going to spin this so you can see. So what I want you to pay attention to is how we can get that darker formula to able to blend into that lighter formula. In hair color and in life, my friends, it's easier to spread darkness than it is to spread lightness, unfortunately. So what I mean by that is you need to get the hair that you want to be light first, then go in with the darker color so that you can control how deep you want this to go. Because I know I've definitely been in this situation where I've gone in to do a vivid color on somebody, or just even like light ends with a darker shadow root, and somehow the dark just gets in the areas that I don't want it to be, and then it ends up messing with it. So you can see, let's go ahead and go to the next slide with the blends. And you have your formula 1 or formula 2 and formula 3. So we are going to be working with our lighter color first. So we're going to come in, and again, where we want to see the lightness, we are going to take it about 1 inch up higher than that. So we're going to come through and saturate. Now, big things that I've learned in saturation is to come through and work your fingers back and forth. This is going to help make sure that the hair saturates really nicely. And then we're going to come in and we're going to add our darkness. So we're going to go ahead and tap that in at the root to get the saturation that we're looking for. There's two different ways that I've learned to blend vivid hair color. So we're going to come in, and our blending area is right through the middle here. If you want a harsher contrast, like the blend on the right, all you're going to do is take the palm of your hand underneath, and you're going to take your thumb on top, and you're going to move that in a circle. So you're going to go through and move that in a circle. What that's going to help create is a harsher contrast between the dark and the light hair. Now, Blake, what if my guest doesn't want a harsh contrast? Don't worry. All you need to do is come through, do the same thing. Again, you're going to go light first, and then dark next. And I see we have a really good question. Oh, hey, Andrew.
I was gonna probably ask the question that you're seeing, which is
Perfect.
we have a couple questions on why specifically you're going light first, then dark, and do you ever do the opposite?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So light first, then dark. Have you ever done dark first, then light, but while you're applying the dark, some dark drips onto the light areas? Have you ever gone in and done dark first, light second, and then the dark just bleeds right into your lighter color? So what we mean is we're going to go in and do light first, then dark. The only times I do this is to make sure if there's more than 2 to 3 levels of difference when we're working with something like Shade TQ gloss, and then in vivid colors, if there's just any gradient at all, light into dark, I'll always start with light first. If like I'm working with Shade TQ, and if it's a level 6 going into level 8, I don't mess with it quite as much. Here's our second blending option for a little bit more blurring. So we have light first, then dark. Then what we're going to come through and we're going to melt with our fingers. So remember, the first one was a motion that was your thumb on top of your hand going like this. Your second one is going to be a pressing motion. What that pressing motion does is drags that lighter color or darker color down into the darker a little forward. So now we have a piece next to each other where you can see it has dark and a light, and then a harsher line right through there. That's going to help make sure that you get a nice blend. So now that's how you can help blend it. So let's go and pull that screen, that head form up one more time with the two blurs, because this is your perfect opportunity to see the two different ways that you can help blend the color. Now, in this case, we're using green, but I just want to be clear, we can totally use this with natural hair colors too. Like you can have your dark formula being 06N and your light formula being 10VV, and you can help blend it together. Because what's really nice is those two colors will mix together on the head form and then get you the blend that you are going after. So you can see, let's bring it over here. I did a natural version of the color melt where it's lighter here, darker up top. There are some highlights that were built in, but you can see how we have a lot of depth here and then a lot of lightness on the end. So remember, my friends, it's easier to spread darkness than lightness, and we want to do the opposite in life and in hair color. So it's going to be the perfect opportunity for us to keep in mind while we're working through this. So now that we've done some hair color, let's go ahead and give you a finish that's going to be really good for Instagram. So we're going to get her off into stage right so that Lydia can process. And now let's talk about some different ways that we can help finish hair that's going to look good on our Instagram. So you've been in the salon, you've lightened someone's hair, they've been with you for a long time, they're getting tired, you're getting tired. So here's our perfect opportunity to do a really, really quick finish. The first product I'm going to be working with is Iron Shape 11. So what we're going to do is we're going to create waves, undone waves in the hair. We're going to come through and we're just going to saturate on top. And the big thing with heat protectant is to make sure that you lift the hair up and saturate underneath. So you're going to have these two different ways to saturate, once on top, once underneath. Why? Because every hair on the head needs to enjoy the benefits of the heat protection. Because if you're only spraying on top when the hair is thicker, the underneath doesn't get to enjoy the benefits of this. Then what we're going to be doing is creating a diagonal back section. And by a diagonal back, it means it's higher towards the face and then lower away from the face. So we're going to get that. And then we're going to go through with our first curl. So we're going to be working with the 2-in-1 curling iron. And what we're going to do first is decide where we want the bend in the hair to be. So I'm going to choose for it to be right around the cheek area. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our spoon and we're going to lift the hair up. So what this is going to do is help create some volume on the sides of the hair. We're going to come in, we're going to close our spoon, and then we're going to rotate one time in the middle. And we're going to let that heat up for 3 seconds. Then we're going to tap outwards. Then we're going to roll up one more time. 1, 2, 3. Pay attention to the fact that we have the ends out still. We're going to tap out one more time. And then now, instead of going all the way back up, we're stretching this out a little bit so that it's a little bit more flowy and less curly at the base area. But the heat is still there, so you're able to create the volume. Then you're going to stretch out the curl by taking the iron underneath, and then you're going to tap. So what you're able to do is get an open curl like this. So now we've done some color. Now we're coming into a really nice finish for the hair. The reason why this is going to be fast, so let's go ahead and do it salon speed, is you're going to come in, take a relatively big section of hair, you're going to let it lift up, curl in one time, 1, 2, 3, tap out, 1, 2, 3, while it's lifted. Then you're going to take the tip of iron, you're going to come underneath. What that's doing is help stretching out the curl. And then you're gonna hit the ends of the hair and you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, just to give it that little bit of a bend to make it look like you hit it with a round brush. The reason why we're doing diagonal back sections is gonna help make the hair kick up and away from its face, or it, you know, your guest's face. So we're gonna come through one more time. And we want to make sure that there's still volume built up on the side. So again, we're going to lift up on the side, and then we're going to come in and 1, 2, 3, let it heat up. I just love this iron so much because it has a heat protected or heat protecting setting that's meant for colored hair. And as someone who is a colorist, it's so important to make sure that we have the heat protecting options. No joke, the other day in the salon, I had a guest that saw one of our team members, and she came into the salon, wanted vibrant red hair, went home and said, well, I've only shampooed 3 times and the red faded out of my hair. And I was like, that's so odd. You know, that's a formula I've always used on you. And they were seeing someone else. And then I was talking with my client. I was like, well, you know, what kind of tools do you use at home? Like, what are your blow dryer? What's your flat iron? And then she was like, well, I flat iron 2 times a day, every single day. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, what heat setting do you have it on? And she was like 450. And I was like, as a colorist, my stomach dropped, and I was like, this makes so much sense, because it was like vibrant up here and then very like dusty and fried looking on the ends. And I was like, that's so crazy, because your hair looked so good whenever you left that day. And my friend, she was literally burning out the hair color out of her hair. So we want to make sure that we use tools like this iron that's going to help make sure that it has a color treated setting, so that the hair color molecules don't escape the hair. Now we're going to go ahead and switch things up a little bit. So what you can do is there's a little button here that says detach. And what you can do now is come through and remove the spoon from the iron. So it's awesome because you can go from a Marcel to a wand in 2 seconds, because then now what I can do is create a different type of curl. So now we're going to go in the opposite direction of what we're working with. And to help create texture, we're going to come up and we're going to come down. And the reason why we're going to come up and come down is that this is going to help go against the grain of the hair. And this is going to help create some texture within it. We're going to go ahead and drop that down. So now you can see how this has a little bit more pop, and it's going to help have a little bit more volume, and it's going to be a little frothier because we went against the grain of the hair. Perfect. So Sonia was asking, mannequin you're curling has money piece to the temple. You're totally right. So in this mannequin, to revisit the hair color side, is this goes almost all the way to the temple, so that you can help create that look. So every hairline is going to be different. Some you can come straight back, then some you need to follow the hairline all the way to the edge of the hairline. Some people have widow's peaks like me, and you need to foil some in this direction and some in the other direction. So I hope all that stuff helps. What I like too about wands and using them in the salon to help style your guests is because your guests use wands. They are used to wands. So it's a great way to be able to have an even playing field with them. And it's also really good too, because you can retail these irons to your guests too, so that they can use what you use. So now we're going to take our last section for this front hairline. I'm going to go ahead and get the spoon of my iron back on. We're going to drop this down. Then we're going to be working with this front section. So the big thing I've learned about curtain bangs is you're going to come in, you're going to create the bend right at the eye area, but I never fully close my curling iron. I just tap, 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 tap. So all that is doing is giving us enough heat so that the hairstyle will be changed without closing down all the way and leaving harder lines. So you're going to come through and just lightly curl, 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 and tap, 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 so that it'll come out. So you can see, here she is from the front, here she is on the side, and then the hair normally takes 20 minutes in order to cool down. It takes 20 minutes. So go ahead and write down 20 minutes into the chat so that we know how long it takes for the hair to cool down. So what you're able to do now is you are able to take a finishing spray. So this is the Next Day Hair from L'Oreal Professional, and any texture spray. I also use Redken's Triple Dry 15. But what this is going to do is the air is going to shoot out cold. So it's going to come out and it's going to shoot out cold. What that's going to do is it's going to help set the curls. So I can now feel that the curls went from hot to cold because the air that comes out of this curling or out of this texture spray is going to be cooler. Then I'm going to come up and make sure that the underneath gets some products. And then now I'm going to be using my Sanvia finishing paddle brush and to brush it out. So you're like, Blake, why did you put all of that work into curling the hair if you're going to brush it out? And it's so that when it sits, these curls are going to be like the done undone waves so that they can look like their hair's done, but like not totally done. So in recap, you know, I think my challenge to all of you is to go out there and hang out on TikTok, hang out on Instagram, take a look at some stuff that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. And then look into it, because what I know for a fact is for every extreme trend, you have the opportunity to find a more commercial or a softer version of it for you or for your clients. Then you can take it all the way, you know, you can make it as bold as you want, you can make it as soft as you want. And then when it comes to toning hair or doing color melts, just remember, if you start with lighter, you get a lot more control, light first, then dark. And then you're going to be able to get full control of your end results. And then when it comes to finishes, you know, the easier you make this for your guests, the better it will be. So we're going to come in and just find different ways to be able to show your guests how to style their hair, because my friends, hair is changing. So hair is changing so quickly after it's been the same for about 10 years. So it's really important to make sure that we help create different ways to finish hair for your guests. And that's why I like things like this 2-in-1 iron, because it is a regular curling iron and then turns right into a wand, so that it is friendly for our guests. So I hope that we had something helpful for you. So what I want to know from all of you is, Leave, what is your biggest takeaway into the chat? What is the biggest thing that you learned today with us?
So much great content today. And it was pretty cool to see how the numbers kind of grew, because we don't necessarily do a ton of color education on the channel. And so it was really beautiful to see there were lots and lots of great questions, but also we could see that the viewers were enjoying having a color class with you, Blake, because definitely had great attendance to class today. So let's tell them some ways that they can continue to learn from you.
Yeah, okay, so coming up in the future, first things first is this Friday I have an Instagram Live with Sanvia on Instagram, and we're going to be talking about dry shampoo day and how we can do different types of styling with dry shampoo. So I hope to see you there on Friday. And then other ways that we can continue to learn is I'm doing a class with Redken called Color and Know Why. This is a class that we normally sell out. People come from all over the world to New York City to see this class. And it's actually the first time in the United States that we've done this outside of New York City. So it's going to be virtual, 5 whole sessions. You're going to get live coaching from George Garcia, myself, and Rosa Cisneros Naguamo, and we'll be able to connect with you guys on there. And it's a really great time if you want some more one-on-one attention with color. We go from everything like how do you formulate for great coverage to hair color placement, to how do you bring a picture to life, so that we have all of that as an opportunity for as well. For my friends that are interested in social media, I'm doing this class. It's one of my favorite things to teach as well. It's called Social Digital Stylist. This is done through Summit Salon Business Center. It's only $99. There's 4 sessions. It's all recorded for you if you can't make these sessions, and we have a private classroom. So I hope to see you guys all there. If you need anything, like even if you don't sign up for the classes, it's all good. Just message me on Instagram, because my passion, the reason why I get out of bed in the morning, is to help other hairdressers live their best life, and whatever that looks like for them. So if you have a question, message me on Instagram. My Instagram name is @BlakeReedEvans. And I'm there for you, because I believe that if together we can make the world a better place through a little something called hair. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Andrew, so much for having me again. It's awesome to be here and be part of the Samvia team.
Absolutely.
Ambassador.
Let me get your name banner up here one more time so they can see where to follow you, because I know that there's lots of people that even if they can't make it to the class, Blake shares so much great content through social media. So make sure you go give him a follow. Blake, on behalf of all of us here at Samvia, thank you so much for sharing these incredible techniques with the audience today. And we'll definitely have you back on soon. And like you said, you'll be on with Sammy on Friday. So
perfect. Thank you so much. It was great seeing you guys. And thanks for having me. I'll see you guys in the future.
thank you, Blake.